Are we live? Alright. Welcome guys to Cafe BuzzCo, and today we'll be discussing Group F, which features Austria, Portugal, Iceland, and Hungary. This is a very even group. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about Austria. Really well in qualifying. 9 wins, 1 draw, I believe. Scored a bunch of goals, didn't concede too many. They're a very good side, and they've improved a lot. They have implemented a new system under the new coach, a 4-2-3-1, which is flexible enough really to be a 4-3-3. And they've got some interesting partnerships. For example, they've got Harnik and Arnautovic as wide players on the wing, but they also work very well with overlapping fullbacks, with Klein and with Christian Fuchs. They have an imposing striker, 6'5", Markienko, who has been in great form for Basel, scoring 22 goals this season. And they've got a very good center. They've got Baumgartlinger and they've got Junuzovic. Junuzovic is absolutely key in going forward. When you get the ball back, Junuzovic drives forward, spreads it to the flanks, and that's when the offense starts. And also, we cannot forget about David Alaba, who is probably the best Austrian player there and who can pop up with assists, with goals. He has good dribbling, he has good pace, and he's a very important part of the offense and both defense. But Austria do and can get caught out if he goes too far forward. But nevertheless, I think Austria is a team to watch out for, and the bookies have them at 40-1. And I agree, this is a dark horse. They're a very good side. It's a picture-perfect team cohesion, and I think they'll do really well. The next team I wanted to talk about is Portugal and their transition from Paulo Bento to Fernando Santos, and their transition from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2. Now, this was done to increase their obvious lack of strikers and thus their obvious lack of goal scoring. They've implemented the system so that Ronaldo can get into more clear opportunities, give him the license to roam, don't give him any defensive duties, and let him score more goals. Because 11 goals in qualifying, I'm sorry, but Ronaldo can at times score 3 or 4 goals in a game. So 11 goals in qualifying is a little low. And this system really relies on a clever and intelligent midfield. The midfield will consist of mostly Sporting players. If João Moutinho comes back from injury, William Carvalho, Adrian Silva, and a bunch of other players there. So they have the chemistry and the team cohesion already to play this intelligent style. So it'll be interesting to see if Portugal can get this going. Now, there is some still liabilities with Portugal's defense. Pepe, Bruno Alves. I mean, we all know what they're capable of a little unnecessary aggression at times, and that could pose some problems to Portugal. Rui Patricio is an improvement over recent Portuguese goalies, but he also can be a little unstable and can have some missteps. So it'll be interesting to see how Portugal does, but they're certainly in contention for first place in this group to qualify even to the quarterfinals. We'll see how they do. The next team I wanted to talk about is Iceland. One of my favorite teams of the Euro, I have to say. The team is blessed with a generation of really good Icelandic players. We're talking about Gylfi Sigurdsson, obviously Kolbeinn Sigteirsson, even Finn Bogason as well. We've got some decent midfielders in Bjarnason and Gunnarsson. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. They had a really successful qualifying campaign, and they've been improving since the missed chance at the World Cup 2 years ago. They play a 4-4-2 system under Lars Lagerbäck, which is also one of my favorite coaches. They employ Gunnarsson and Gylfi in the center, and they have a great partnership together. They understand how to play together. They employ probably Gudmundsson and Bjarnason on the wings, Halfridsson if they need a more defensive option, and 2 strikers. So it's a classic Lars Lagerbäck formation. They have been successful in implementing it. They kept 6 clean sheets in qualifying, 2 against the Netherlands, so that's pretty impressive. Their team is very tall, it's worthy to note, and they could be very dangerous from set pieces as well. And I think overall, their defense, led by Ragnar at the back, which is a rock, can pose teams problems defensively, but also their players going forward can pose problems offensively. But I think recently their form has dipped a little. I think only 3 wins in the last 10 and 7 of those 10 games losses. So the form has dipped, but I think they'll appear and they'll be ready for the final tournament because this is Iceland's chance. Iceland doesn't really go to major tournaments, and this is exactly why Eidur Guðjónsson has come back, because as a legend for Iceland, he's like, yep, we're going to the Euros, we're playing. And he might pop up with a goal, and I would love to see Eidur Guðjónsson score a goal at these Euros. The last team I wanted to talk about is Hungary. It's a very interesting team, great team spirit, great cohesion. They've gone through a bunch of coaches recently, changed the system a little bit. There are positives that can be said. They're very good from set pieces. I mean, 7 of their 13 goals in qualifying were from set pieces. They've got certain players who fit well together, and Balatić and obviously Adam Shalai, if he plays, can work well together and can produce some magic. But for the most part, I'm a little bit worried about Hungary because, well, first of all, as much as I love Gabor Kirali, he's probably one of my favorite goalies. He's 40 and he wasn't that good in his prime, and they're still starting him, so that's a worry. And a lot of their players, 4 or 5 of them that start, are from the Polish league. And me being Polish, I know what our level is of our league, and that kind of worries me because they're mainstays of this Hungary team. Kadar, Bujniks, Lovrencic if he plays, Nemanja Nikolic if he plays. So I'm a little bit worried because the quality to play in the Polish league is not very high. So these players aren't the best players. Albeit the team is cohesive, they're organized, they play according to the tactics of the coach, but it still worries me. And they had to play playoffs in an already weak group. Romania finished ahead of them, Northern Ireland finished ahead of them, and their only 4 wins in qualifying, I think, came against 2 against Faroe Islands and 2 against Finland. So, like I said, this isn't the best Hungary team you've ever seen, and for them to go, into the round of 16 or farther, they're going to have to draw upon the inspiration of the Magic Magyars, Ferenc Puskás coming down and inspiring someone, and maybe that'll happen, but I don't see them doing very well. In fact, they're bottom of my group predictions. My predictions, in fact, would be Austria to top the group. I think they're good enough. I think this isn't the strongest group, and I think the fact that they won 9 games and tied 1 in qualifying convinces me enough that they can top this group. Portugal, I think, second. I think Ronaldo is a very good talisman. They got some supplementary players there. I think Portugal's good enough to get first place in this group, but I think they'll fall short in a game or 2 and they'll get second. And I think Iceland is capable of beating 1, if not 2 of the opponents and finishing third. And I think they'll go to the round of 16. I think they'll have enough to be one of those third teams that gets lucky enough to do so.